Advisors who signed that letter against Donald Trump, they worked in several Republican administrations from Richard Nixon to George W. Bush. Eric Edelman is one of them. He's a former Undersecretary of Defense and for Policy and a former National Security Advisor to the Vice President at the time, Dick Cheney. Eric, thanks very much for coming in.
Great to be with you.
How did this letter come about?
Well, I was contacted by John Bellinger, who was a former legal advisor in the State Department, a longtime government colleague, who asked me whether I'd be willing to sign it. I'd signed the earlier anti-Trump letters, and that's how it came about.
Was there any involvement from the Clinton campaign?
I'm not aware of any.
When you say you're not aware, is it possible that some people from the Clinton campaign helped organize or orchestrate this letter?
I'm not aware that that took place. I was only in contact with John Bellinger and other Republican colleagues.
What's your biggest concern about Donald Trump as president?
I think he fundamentally lacks the knowledge, the character, and temperament to be president of the United States. I think he's shown that repeatedly during the debates, during the campaign. His lack of understanding of the nuclear triad, his apparent lack of understanding of the fundamental basis of nuclear deterrence, his calling into question our extended deterrent guarantees to allies, all of that suggests to me that he's just not fit to be president.
You saw what Donald Trump said on Fox earlier today. He also put out a statement in his campaign yesterday really going after you guys, and says, among other things, it says the names on this letter are the ones the American people should look to for answers on why the world is a mess. These insiders, along with Hillary Clinton, are the owners of the disastrous decisions to invade Iraq, allow Americans to die in Benghazi. They are the ones who allowed the rise of ISIS. Now, I know you had nothing to do, you weren't in the government during Benghazi or the rise of ISIS, but you were in the government leading up to the Iraq War in 2003. You were top national security advisor to the then Vice President, Dick Cheney, and the intelligence was bad. So does he have a point when he blames you for the disastrous war in Iraq?
Well, it's a war that, as has been demonstrated by your colleagues in the Fourth Estate, he supported at the outset. I think one can raise legitimate questions about how the war was conducted, but I think the world is better off without Saddam Hussein. I think we had stabilized Iraq by the end of the Bush administration. And I think what he's really doing in his answer is what he always does, which is just to attack critics without any substance to the criticism. There was no discussion of the role of U.S. alliances, no discussion of our nuclear arsenal and its modernization. There's no discussion of any of the serious national security issues, Russia, China, that face the country. It's just an assault on the character of his critics.
Well, so when he says the war was a blunder, was a mistake, he had done that interview with Howard Stern before the war in which he seemed to support going to war, but subsequently he says it was a disaster, and he blames people like you for that. As a result, he's telling his supporters, don't listen to these 50 advisors, look at the mess they created.
Look, I mean, we could relitigate the war in Iraq. I don't think there's any point in it. I think what's really at issue here is the questions that face the country now. A resurgent Russia, a challenge to the security of Asia from China, the emergence potentially of a nuclear Iran, the continued provocative actions by North Korea. Those are the issues the country faces today, and not to mention the situation in Syria and the Middle East. And that's what we ought to be talking about in this campaign, rather than relitigating the past.
Because he also makes the point that of the 50 individuals, the Republican National Security Foreign Policy Advisor, he said, you know, they all wanted to come on my team. They all wanted to advise me. I wasn't interested in them, and this is their opportunity at payback.
I've had no contact with the Trump campaign and expressed no interest in advising him at any point during the campaign.
And you have no interest down the road?
I do not.
I'm sure he has no interest in asking you for advice.
I'm sure it's mutual.
So who are you going to vote for?
You know, I haven't decided that yet, Wolf. I mean, there are a lot of different potential avenues for those of us who said we will not vote for Mr. Trump. I'm not prepared at this point to say that I would vote for Secretary Clinton. I have a lot of reservations, as do many of us who signed that letter, reservations about the ethics of a Clinton foundation with her in the White House, questions about the emails, lots of questions. I might vote for the Libertarian candidate. I might stay home. I might write in Evan McMullin. I haven't really decided yet. So the only thing you have decided is you definitely will not vote for Donald Trump. I will definitely not vote for Donald Trump. Eric Edelman, thanks very much for joining us.